Hello and how's it going? Welcome to the Future Pupil Barrister Academy. If you're watching this video, I suspect that you're interested in securing pupillage and qualifying as a practicing barrister at the bar. Maybe you're an undergraduate law student new to the world of the bar and keen to get the right information and the right experiences to facilitate your path to pupillage. You might be a little bit further along on the bar course and you feel like you've not had the right information, tools and strategies to date to enable you to properly research chambers, draft persuasive pupillage applications, and prepare and deliver effectively at first and second round pupillage interviews. Or maybe you've completed the bar course and this is your third or fourth pupillage cycle. You're conscious of the 5-year window to secure pupillage and you're keen to implement a tried and tested method to go about securing your pupillage. You might also be an international student unsure about the visa and sponsorship process and keen to get some insights about how you can go about securing pupillage in the UK. Whether you're a UK-based student or an international student, if what I've just said resonates with you, then the Future Pupil Barrister Academy is what you need. If we haven't already had the pleasure, my name's Taz, I'm a practicing barrister, part-time YouTuber, and the founder at Legis Lab. And before we get into the ins and outs of the course, I want to give you a bit of background about me so you know more about me, who I am, and how this course came to be. I started out studying law at the University of Sheffield and I went on to complete a Master's in Corporate and Commercial Law. And after doing a stint at a commercial law firm in Manchester, I decided that I'd had enough and I wanted to volunteer for the witness service. That is where I was bitten by the crime bug and it's where my journey to become a criminal barrister began. I went on to volunteer at a death row office in the States for 4 months. I came home. I then went on to secure a scholarship from Lincoln's Inn before completing the bar course, having graduated both from the University of Sheffield and BPP University with a distinction. I spent the next 5 years applying for pupillage, and during that time I secured interviews at some of the very best sets across the country, including Exchange Chambers, Lincoln House Chambers, Park Square Barristers and 2 Bedford Row. In the beginning of my pupillage journey, I went from getting no invitations to interview to roughly getting around 70% every time I was sending an application out. And the reason for that is because I had dedicated myself over those 5 years to understanding and mastering the pupillage process. I attended every workshop, lecture, seminar, event that there was, and I truly committed myself to understanding the intricacies of the process. I read every article, I spoke with hundreds of barristers and judges to learn what was it that made a successful pupillage application and a winning candidate at interview. During that period, I was invited by Lincoln's Inn to join the Lincoln's Inn Pupillage Foundation Scheme, which was a pupillage course set up by the Inns of Courts to enable candidates to study the pupillage process, be coached by senior members of the Inn and judges to perform at the pupillage process. Throughout this period, I made comprehensive notes on each stage of the process. I identified the key themes and I looked for the clues to success. Success leaves clues, as they say, and I was looking for them, and believe me, I found them. Part of what I learned along the way is that there is a system to applying for pupillage. There is a process, there are patterns, consistent themes that come up irrespective of whether you're applying for a civil, a commercial, a family, or a criminal pupillage. Many of the lessons cross over, and the panel are looking for many of the exact same qualities across the board. They are looking for a future pupil barrister who's going to have a potentially successful career at the bar. Back in 2021, I set up my YouTube channel and I started making videos to support aspiring barristers and help them with the bar course and those applying for pupillage. And what I found is that the same questions in respect of pupillage kept coming up time and time again. I decided to pour all my knowledge and condense the past 5 years of my pupillage journey into the Future Pupil Barrister Academy. And although there's no secret formula to getting pupillage, this course is the next best thing. This is the first and only comprehensive pupillage program available and the best tool to support aspiring barristers on the path to securing pupillage. Fast forward to 2022, I secured a pupillage offer, and a year later I had qualified as a practicing barrister at the Bar of England and Wales. The course is divided into 12 sections with 69 lessons. We start off by looking at the key information that really any aspiring barrister should know about the profession, the role, the history of the bar, the history of the role, and whether or not you need mentoring, if you want mentoring, where you can go to get that, and the process to networking effectively to build your audience as you go. We then move on to look at the Bar of England and Wales, who the regulators are, how many circuits are there across the country, and the differences between the self-employed bar and the employed bar, and what opportunities there are at each for looking at the types of chambers and the different practice areas you can consider as an aspiring barrister. We move on to look at education and finance, specifically who are the Inns of Courts, what scholarships and awards are available, how you can go about securing them, before looking at the different bar course providers, and based on the statistics, which is the best provider to apply for. And then we move on to work experience, which is an incredibly important section. What is the best work experience you can get as an aspiring barrister? Where do you go about getting that type of experience? How do you then, once you have that experience, write that information up into persuasive writing that you're going to incorporate into your pupillage application? And we include a work experience directory for any aspiring barrister who's not sure what opportunities there are out there to secure experience. Before we draft any pupillage application, we instill the importance of doing proper preparation. And this includes the pupillage preliminaries, the importance of good candidate analysis, and then we look at how we go about analysing the best chambers that are fitted and suited to our individual application, which give us the highest chance of success at securing a pupillage. Then we move on to the art of drafting pupillage applications, the do's, the don'ts, the laws of drafting, before taking you through a walkthrough tutorial of the Pupillage Gateway. And at the end of that tutorial, I'll use my own Pupillage Gateway application and analyze it alongside you so you can see the application of the techniques in practice. We then consider the most common questions that come up every year on the AETO questionnaire, how you go about answering those questions. And we've provided you with a list of pupillage application common questions. After that, we go on to look at pupillage interviews. Again, we're considering the do's and don'ts, a variety of pre-interview checklists that we should have in place before we go to our interview. Then we look at the key themes that arise across first and second round interviews and the different advocacy exercises that arise at each interview, and how you can go about preparing and executing one set interview, for ending with a list of pupillage interview questions that come up every year. The penultimate module is all about the pupillage cycle review, and this is about implementing systems to ensure that feedback that's come through every interview and every application is feeding back into your own application to ensure that you're evolving throughout the process, you're acquiring the right feedback, and you're building confidence as you go. Finally, we look at what actually happens on the day where you're given a pupillage offer, what pupillage scholarships are available to you, what first, second, and third six will look like, what is tenancy, and the career opportunities available inside and outside of law, and inside and outside the UK for a practicing barrister. And to say thank you, we've created a bunch of bonus resources for you, including a successful pupillage application, banks of questions for pupillage applications, pupillage interviews, and a whole host of different documents that are going to serve you at every step of the pupillage process. Since starting the YouTube channel back in 2021, I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of aspiring barristers reach out to me for support. Since then, I have coached hundreds and hundreds of aspiring barristers through the pupillage process, and I'm proud to say that many of them have secured really good pupillage offers at some of the very best sets across the country. One of the biggest mistakes that I see when it comes to aspiring barristers applying for pupillage is either they don't have the knowledge of the process, or they don't have a system in place, and because of that they fall down at each stage of the process. For example, they're writing up their work experience in a way that's not eliciting the right skills that panel is looking for, or they're just picking the wrong chambers. They would have probably spent hundreds of hours on applications that were destined to fail from the beginning, where they didn't stand a realistic chance of securing pupillage. And when it comes to the applications, they're just not applying the right strategies and methods to draft the documents in a way that chambers expect to see them. And finally, even if they manage to get to interview, they're just not prepared for the rigors of a pupillage interview. They're not familiar with the advocacy style. They're not familiar with the exercises that can present themselves, how to structure their responses, and how to navigate those waters to end up securing an offer. Just working hard is not enough to get pupillage. You need to be consistent. You need to be adapting throughout the process, evolving throughout the process. And you do need a little pinch of luck. You don't need me to tell you that anyone applying for pupillage is doing everything and anything that they can do to get an edge. They're turning over every stone. They're taking absolutely every step that they have to close the distance and get it over the line. And that's the mindset you need to adopt really when it comes to pupillage. A very, very, very small percentage of people get pupillage. So you need to consider yourself in this very small cohort of people who are at the top of their game and competing for spaces essentially. And the more particular you become about the process, the sharper your applications will become and the brighter you'll shine at interview. All of which feeds into you finding your golden snitch of chambers. The way I look at getting pupillage, I compare it to painting your masterpiece. You have your own unfair advantages. You have some gifts, maybe it's your grades, maybe it's your work experience. No one has everything. It's about using the palette that you have to paint your picture to the panel why you are their next future pupil barrister. It's about amplifying your strengths and recognizing and mitigating your weaknesses to present a persuasive, realistic, and honest picture of you, which says, I can do the job and I'm going to be good at the job, and this is why I'm the right choice for you. You don't need the very best grades. You don't need the best work experience. Grades help, work experience helps. But really what you need to figure out is who you are, what your story is, and how you're going to sell it to the pupillage panel to convince them that you're the right pick. With the right tools, knowledge, and skills, you're going to avoid common pitfalls made by aspiring barristers every year, and you're going to be one step closer to securing a pupillage offer. And to support you on your journey, we've set up a private space inside community for FPBA members, where you'll find like-minded aspiring barristers there to help you. There are also other areas where you can find yourself an accountability buddy, can ask questions from other members of the community, and you can also request peer feedback. We wish you the very best with your pupillage cycle this year, and we keep our fingers crossed that we hope to see you one day on the other side of the bar.